What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Everything College Basketball Podcast, episode 218. I'm, of course, your host, Josh Burton, and joining me today are a pair of my teammates, Michael DeRosa, head coach Scott Parrott. Gentlemen, I wake up this morning, and it was raining all day yesterday here in the state of Indiana. No big deal. I'm okay with that. I wake up this morning, and my car is covered in snow. I've got to clean off the driveway now to get out. Where the hell does snow come from? I enjoyed it a couple of weeks ago. I don't like it now. It's going to make me do physical labor I'm not ready for. But now, how are you guys doing this fine Sunday?
I'm doing great, and I can't wait for this show. If the pre-production meeting is the show's as good as that, we're in for a good one today. A lot of people are fired up. There's a lot to be fired up about. We have a tremendous guest on that I'm looking forward to catching up with, a good friend of mine, Sean Miller. And again, games, a lot to talk about the games yesterday and a lot to talk about moving forward. So, Michael, how are you doing?
Yesterday was fun. Yesterday was fun for me. So I'm excited to talk about these games. And yeah, as Coach mentioned, just based on our little pre-production meeting of when I show up 2 minutes before the show, when everybody else is already here. Yeah, it seems like we're going to have a fun time. So I'm looking forward to it. Hey,
we were just happy it was 2 minutes today. Usually it's 30 seconds. So this, like you today was like a bonus. You got bonus Michael time today.
For those who don't know the reference, obviously our show begins at 1 o'clock, and we normally get on here, Coach and I, 10, 15 minutes early, kind of make sure we work the kinks out. DeRosa, on time, every time, baby, 30 seconds before the buzzer starts. It's crazy. So we got extra time with it, and Coach is right. It's going to be fired up today. We do have an incredible guest coming on. Really excited to continue think about our run we've had this year, and especially in the last couple weeks. We've had Andy Kennedy. We've had Dusty May. We're about to have Sean Miller. We've had Coach Eshawn from UIC. We've had Coach Rhodes earlier in the year. We've had so many incredible coaches come on to join us, and we're continuing that guest list today. So really excited to get with Sean as soon as he's able to hop on here in about 15 minutes or so. Before we get to all that, though, the committee, as they've done for the last 6 seasons now, I think the first time they started it in 2019, 18-19 season. About this time of year, they reveal what their current today top 16 would be. So the 4 seeds in each of the 4 regions, they listed them out too by number. So Auburn, obviously the number 1 overall seed as of right now. And this is before any games were played yesterday. So things will probably change a little bit. But it's a great insight to what the committee thinks, because we've had our guy NKY Bracketology, Hunter, does a tremendous job. And we rely on his bracket because he's so close to what the thing is on Selection Sunday 4 weeks from today. And there's other great bracketologists. But now you get to see firsthand what the committee is looking at and how they're evaluating these teams. And we can go through that top 16 because I think it's interesting. We just mentioned Auburn is the overall number 1 seed. That does not change. We cannot wait to talk about that Auburn-Alabama game yesterday, 1-2. That would not change even if they lost, I don't think. Auburn's the overall number 1 in the South region. The 2 seed in that region, which would be the 6th overall team, is Texas A&M. The 3 seed in that region, the 11th overall team, is Wisconsin. And the 4th seed in that region would be Texas Tech, who is number 13 overall. Before we move on into the other regions, Auburn, A&M, Wisconsin, Texas Tech, the top 4 seeds according to the committee right now in the South. Your guys' thoughts on that?
First of all, Wisconsin, you talk about a team that has found themselves and is playing and probably the most least talked about really good team in the country. Yeah. So I think that, you say they're a 3 in that region.
They are, yeah, 11 overall.
And keep an eye on them. I mean, they can win the Big Ten tournament.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. We're going to talk about that win yesterday, DeRosa, later on. But I'm with Coach. The Badgers, and honestly, it's going to be hard for them, I think, to catch A&M because A&M will have more quad ones and the strength of the conference. But there's a chance if you look at some of these 2 seeds we talk about, if they slip up and Wisconsin keeps winning, I could see Wisconsin as a 2 seed come Selection Sunday.
Yeah. I mean, this was released just before they went on the road at Mackey and won, which is about as good a win as you're going to find with most teams in the lines above them. So yeah. I went back and I watched some of the highlights of that game today, like the full game highlights, like the 15-minute stuff. Yeah, I got some takes on it. Wisconsin looked really, really good. That's really the only team in this region I have a take on, like where they're seated.
The Midwest region, according to the committee, the second 1 seed, number 2 overall, Alabama, makes a lot of sense. The 2 seed in that region in the Midwest would be Purdue, who is 7th overall. Iowa State is down to a 3 seed, who is 9th overall. And the 4 seed in the Midwest region would be Kansas, who is 15th overall. I think if that was kind of our regional, about a month from now, in the Midwest, in Indianapolis, by the way, right up the road from me, you're talking Alabama against Kansas, Purdue, Iowa State. That's a hell of a regional, gentlemen.
Yeah, and I do think there's going to be some changes there in some of those as well. I mean, obviously, a lot of this is going to change. I'm not making a crazy statement here, but I just look at the trajectories of how these teams play hitting late February and early March, and to me, I know it's body of work. I get it, but if you reel off 10 wins in a row, or you win 10 of 11, or you lose 6 of 7, or whatever, 3 of 5 down the stretch, it's going to affect, what this looks like in 2 weeks and in 3 weeks and eventually on Selection Sunday. Yeah.
You mentioned how tough the regional would be. The problem would Kansas would have to get there. And I'm not going to pick them to get there. I faded Bill Self in the past. It never has worked out, but maybe this is the time it does. But no, Kansas, the resume makes sense why they are here. It's just, I don't trust them at all. They're not good they're 3-6 on the road in the season. Okay, they're 2-0 in a neutral site, which does matter more for tournament, as we'll obviously get to, but 4 quad 1 wins. So the body of work speaks for itself, but just watching that team play, they're just not inspired. And analytics, all the nerd stuff, they love them, but it just doesn't match the eye test. I just don't trust that team.
Yeah. And they drop again. This came out earlier in the afternoon, late last night. They go to Utah and drop a game. I'm betting on the next one. If there is another one, they will not be anywhere close to that 4 seed.
We all agree.
They're already 15th overall, so I can't imagine. I'm expecting somebody to take that spot. Let's go to the third 1 seed in the East region. That would be Duke. Makes a lot of sense. Their 2 seed, who is 5th overall, is Tennessee. Tennessee is right there. They're the first team outside of that 1 seed region. They are the 2 seed in that region, number 5 overall. Arizona is the 3 seed in the East, number 12 overall. And then St. John's, the 4 seed, the last team in this top 16 and the 4 seed there. We're talking about fun regionals, Coach. Historic wise, you're telling me in Newark, New Jersey, in a Sweet 16 game, you get Duke versus Rick Pitino yet again? Come on now.
I think a lot of people would sign up for that right now. And ticket sales would go through the roof and everybody would be happy. Look, St. John's another team. Having them as 16, I think that could move up as well, past some of these other teams that we've talked about. And who Tennessee, boy, they had a little scary yesterday, huh?
Yeah. We're going to talk
Commodores.
about
good too.
Oh, they were up 15.
They were up
Something
6.
like that, yeah.
They were up 16, and
16?
Tennessee went nuts in the second half. So Kai Ziegler and Chaz Lanier combined for almost 50, and it was pretty much all in the second half. But I've got a thought, and I'll save it on Tennessee. I tweeted it out, so you can go to our official account and see what I said. But I've got a thought on Tennessee that I think, even despite the win yesterday, that rings true, and it's going to really cost them in the tournament when you see some of these teams that play a certain style. DeRosa, anything on that East? You got Duke, Tennessee, Arizona, and St. John's as the top 4.
Yeah, the main note for me is St. John's was the 16, the worst overall team of the top 16, which is based on resume, and they still got in the East.
Yeah.
If St. John's is still playing for the East region, to be in the East region, that's something. That's big time. So if they're able to just kind of stay in the East, if they're able to control their own destiny from the East region, they're going to have fans coming to games. It's going to kind of feel like a St. John's home game anytime they play. So I think that is huge. I think that for St. John's to make a run, the way the bracket is setting up, there aren't any other teams that really would want to take the East region of the 4. So yeah, as long as they just kind of keep up what they're doing, being in the East region is a huge, huge advantage for the Johnnies.
Well, that makes sense too, because Arizona is the 3 out there. We move to the West, the last region real quick. Florida is the last 1 seed. They are out in the West. Houston as the number 2, 8 overall. Kentucky is the 3 seed out there, number 10 overall. And Michigan is the 4 seed. To me, what that says is that West Coast basketball is so down because Gonzaga has not been great this year. Arizona has been good, but not great. You've got them in the East. You've got 4 teams as the top 4 seeds out West that would be heading to San Francisco for the Sweet 16 and Elite 8. that are all east of the Mississippi, basically. I mean, Houston's but you see what I'm saying,
Yeah.
though. Like they're all Midwest.
I would sign up if that was the Final Four.
Oh, that'd be nuts.
Yeah.
Like you would have
that's unbelievable.
You would have a Florida, Michigan Sweet 16 and Houston, Kentucky, which would be Kentucky's worst nightmare, especially if not. But yeah, I mean, to me, what it says, Coach, is that Arizona has gotten better, and we've raved about them here lately. But West Coast basketball has been obviously down for a while. No Gonzaga, no Arizona.
You're right.
No UCLA.
Look, I like UCLA's team. I did early in the season. Then they kind of went south on me. They're kind of playing better. So I like them. But you're right. I don't know that they're Final Four team. So you're right. You're right. It's a great point, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how this shakes out 4 weeks from today when we look at the West. But no teams from a traditional Pacific Coast, West Coast time being out in the West region as far as the top 4 seeds would be really, really, really interesting, to be completely honest. It looks like we've got Coach Miller waiting on his camera to connect before we can bring him on.
Okay.
So once he gets his camera connected, it looks like right here he is. Perfect. We got a camera. We got a camera.
Sorry, I'm late.
No. You're fine. We won't find you.
We got a camera connected, and we are happy to bring on with us for the first time the head basketball coach at Xavier University, Sean Miller. Coach, it is a pleasure to have you on finally. I know Coach Perry's worked behind the scenes for a while to try to find the right timing to get you on, but welcome aboard, and we are happy to have you with us.
Glad to be here with you guys talking some basketball.
Hey, Sean. So, obviously I was cheering like hell for you yesterday because I'm like, they don't need to take an L with him coming on the podcast. And so I thought I tried to time this up pretty well, and you guys got a good win. I was kind of telling these guys a little bit. We have a lot in common, being you playing small school Blackhawk in PA and me being from Hershey. And I was doing some research on that. I thought you won a state title at Blackhawk, and I saw that you guys were short, huh? Both 86 and 87.
Yeah, my dad, obviously was my coach at Blackhawk High School. And Scott, I know you know that. Went on to win 4 or 5 Pennsylvania state championships. And I would say like in the late 80s, like the 80s in general would have been the time, Scott, where he was like building the program.
Gotcha.
And, back then it was very few people moved. So you had to build it from the elementary program and elementary level to like what we called the Bantam program, which was the 6th graders, into the middle school, running the same system as the high school, hiring grade. Yeah. Just, and it was like, because of that, it was more player development. It was program development. And I would say like right when I left and went to college to Pitt is when Blackhawk was like, we established ourselves as good. And then it went from good to like almost dominant. Dante Calabria, who you guys remember played at North Carolina, played for my dad. And he really started it off, and a lot of great things went from there.
Well, I think you started it off, but Dante continued it. But anyway, I found that interesting. And then obviously we both, even though we were never on the same staff, we were both assistants with Herb Sendek, you at NC State, me at Arizona State. Then you were the head coach at Arizona when I was at Arizona State, and we got to coach against each other and see each other then. And then most recently, a lot of people know the name Quincy Oliveri. And, Quincy played for me for 4 years and then went and played for you for a year and led the Big East in scoring. And, so we've kind of all these cross things that have formed a good friendship over the years. So it's great to have you on and to talk some hoops.
Yeah, no, same here, Scott. And, Quincy, I think it's really a cool story from our perspective because, the transfer portal can have like a negative connotation to it. One player leaving in a disgruntled fashion from one program or coach to the next, coach being incredibly upset that they're losing the player, et cetera. And just, I think that sometimes people think on the outside that when one player leaves a program and goes to the next, that can't be a good thing. Well, I think that, between you and I, Scott, your love for Quincy and all the great stuff you did for him as a coach, friend, mentor, you allowed him to grow and go to maybe something that would allow him to have even a bigger opportunity when his time in college ended. So we worked together, together in concert, Rice and Xavier, me and you,
Yeah.
to see if we could put Quincy in a great position. And you know who won? Quincy did.
Yes.
Like we did, because we had a terrific kid and a terrific player as part of our respective programs. But look, him leading the Big East in scoring, him getting more confident, getting the next opportunity, and just watching what he's been able to do in his first year out of college with the Lakers and the G League team. It's been a lot of fun following him. And I think we both share in our immense pride in that we worked collectively together to help him. And I think sometimes that is, in fact, what the new way of college basketball can provide. New opportunities that come in a unique fashion.
That's a really good story, obviously, though. But the best part of the story is the commitment, Sean. You got to tell that story. Tell your side of that story. When Quincy committed to Xavier.
Usually, you're on pins and needles and you beg and, you're just wondering, are we going to get this guy? Are we not? And you start to almost talk yourself out of it. He must not be coming here, right? But in Quincy's case, I got this bizarre call. Just like driving on I-71 North here in Ohio. And, it's like Scott with Quincy, I think together, maybe in your office at Rice.
Yeah.
And we've been recruiting Quincy, but, he was set to take a couple visits and do different things. And, I wasn't sure. I knew we were in the mix, but nothing more than that. And all of a sudden, he just says, Coach Miller, I'm coming to Xavier. And I think I said when he committed, are you kidding me? Or is this a serious deal? And Scott was there. But I think, late in a college career, it's easier to make the decision based on sound principle and what you're looking for. You don't need the dog and pony show of a young person who's sometimes maybe 16 or 17.
That's a great point.
And I think that's probably what hit Quincy with your help.
No, that was a funny story. I know you thought he was kidding. I had to get on there and verify. No, Sean, I'm here. He's serious.
Yeah. Coach told me that right before we went on air too. So that's a hilarious
Go ahead,
story.
fellas.
So Coach Miller, when we announced that you would be coming on today, we got flooded with it's funny. So what your brother said the other day about he has 10 minutes up the road or whatever, 20 minutes up the road, and he doesn't even call me. So we have people asking, have you talked to Archie yet?
I have, and I know he got a little notoriety for being funny, which is hard for him to be able to do. But no, I didn't call him, and Scott will tell you, of course I didn't call him, because when I get on that trip, you're worried about your team. You got film, you got walkthrough. We had actually a shoot around in Providence. It's freezing cold. You don't even want to be outside, and the next thing you know, it's game day, and game day becomes another shoot around, and then the game ends, and guess what? You're on a plane headed home. So he never even crossed my mind. I could have been in California. In fact, I was in Rhode Island. I never thought twice about, hey, I'm right down the street. It was irrelevant to me. Whether that's so good or bad, that's the true story of it.
And it's so true. Trust me, I'm here to tell you, Sean's telling the truth. You get on these trips, and it's like dinner, meal, film, dinner, meeting, film, recruiting, phone call. And next thing you know, you're on that plane home, and you won or lost, you're happy or pissed. And then you get home and you realize, oh shit, maybe I should have called my brother.
Coach, I do have
played a game the same night as me as well. Yeah. So we didn't really have the chance.
Coach, I do have a serious question though. Obviously, struggle to the season, the start, no Fremantle, but once you get him back, you guys have kind of started to figure it out to the point now. We're good friends with a lot of the top bracketologists and stuff. You guys have worked your way back into conversation strongly, not just kind of hey, your last four out, you're in the mix now. How important was that to obviously get healthy? You look at teams around the country, my favorite team's Kentucky. They're beat up now. To the fact that you start slow, but you're it's okay. Once we get our pieces together, I feel confident enough that we'll take off kind of maybe what I expect in the preseason. And now here you are, you're back in the mix to get in the tournament.
Yeah, we have a term here, and I was given this by a real good friend of mine, and it's just, you just got to keep flipping the coin, and what I mean by it is, from the analytics perspective, the things that you can control as a coach and as a team, what are you good at? What do you need to improve on? Trying to make that your focus every single day. That's what you can control, and just stay with it. Don't allow a loss, an injury, a setback, a tough moment in time to derail you from actually the thing that counts the most, and that is today's practice, a focused approach on improving our rebounding, getting better, being prepared. And, as Scott knows this, it's, in today's world, a couple tough losses, an injury, it can really steal your mind. It can steal your confidence and can get you worrying about things, quite frankly, that you have no control over. So if I give ourselves credit for anything this season, it's, staying with it, not getting too high, not getting too low, just trying to be the best team we can be, focus on what are the things we can improve, what are the things we're good at that maybe we can even get better at. And Josh, I agree with you. I think right now, we have the opportunity to play our best basketball. Our schedule in January was also something we had no control over. And in a bizarre way, we went St. John's twice, Marquette twice, UConn twice, and at Creighton, really all in a row. And I don't care who you are as a team, that's a tough stretch to be successful in, night out. But now that stretch is over, and we have an opportunity to maybe catch our breath, I do think that whether it's our schedule, whether it's the fact we're healthy, and maybe it's the fact that we've stayed with it, that we could finish strong. And that's obviously what we're after right now. We did dig ourselves a hole by a couple tough losses in the month of December and maybe even late November, but that's over with. And I think we all are very familiar with those teams that they seem to put it together at the end. And we want to be one of those teams.
Coach, first of all, I'm a Butler grad. I got to get that off the top, just be honest with it. Yeah. But I want to go back a couple of years because you said one of the most interesting things I think I've ever heard a coach say. You said in the year off between you leaving Arizona and taking the Xavier job, you watched Arizona play a lot and even took some of the concepts Tommy Lloyd applied to that roster, whether it's that more free-flowing style or how they post up their bigs really early in the shot clock with those duck-ins, and how you were able to use that with both Jack Nungy and Zach Fremantle in your first year at Xavier, where you guys ended up making a Sweet 16 and really made some noise. Break that down a little bit for me, how you were able to watch those games and still kind of be unbiased about it and say, you're doing this, I can learn from it. And if you're able to learn from other coaches while you are still coaching actively now.
Yeah, when you don't have a team, and Scott can talk about this as well, I think sometimes you certainly see things differently and potentially more clearly because, back to the answer I just gave you, you're in this 3-month cycle as a coach when you have a team that it's your everything. The only thing you worry about, the things that you're in control of, your daily work is about your team, your own team. And, it's tough to keep track of others and sometimes other things that are happening around you. It actually could be to your detriment. But when you don't have a team, it's just the opposite. And you could really look at things in a unique way, look at coaches and styles that you admire, try to steal different things and learn. And most importantly, I think if you love the game, you're drawn to do that anyway. But when I was out west, I grew a healthy level of respect for Gonzaga. I think that when you watch how they play the game, their style, it's withstood the test of time almost 30 years. And it's not that they play in this certain league or whatever. They've proven they can do it against the best in March, and they can do it year in and year out. Their consistency is amazing. So, I think for me, just watching, whether it's Tommy Lloyd, Mark Few, that style, I think, is something that resonated with me. I wanted to learn more about that style, maybe to play the game with more movement and pace. And you're right, stole a lot of different concepts and tried to apply them to me as a coach moving forward, which is, the next step became here at Xavier.
Yeah, that's so true, Sean. I told these guys, and they've laughed at me throughout the year in some ways. And I'm actually watching basketball games. Besides watching tape of the team you're playing or your own team, and that's not watching basketball. It is
right.
It's basketball on a screen, but it's not. You're not watching for any. It's to try and improve, try and figure out how to stop somebody, score on somebody, or get your team better, right?
That's right.
And now this year I've got to watch A, as a fan, B, as just kind of a totally step back and look at all these different things that are going on and people are doing and taking notes and sending myself emails and trying to make sure that if I get back in this deal to some plays I want to add to things that so we do that all the time, and it's so true. A couple things, man, and we'll let you go. First one is talk to the audience kind of about what it's like to go back to Xavier. Like, what was that like? I mean, because I know your love of the place. I knew your love of it the first time.
Yeah.
What was that like to be able to go back to Xavier again, and what that means to you?
I mean, it's a dream come true in a lot of ways. I certainly never envisioned coming back, but when the opportunity presented itself at just a very unique way, it was something that, I was very lucky to have. In a sense, Xavier's believed in me twice. Once when I was an assistant coach here before I ever became a head coach, they promoted me to giving me my first opportunity. And then obviously coming from Arizona, giving me the next opportunity. I think one thing that's different, Scott, that makes it even more special is when I was here the first time, we were in the Atlantic 10. The Atlantic 10 was obviously a terrific conference, but like VCU was not in the Atlantic 10.
Great
Temple was, right? John Chaney was. So it was different. It was a long time ago, and we rose within the Atlantic 10 to potentially be the best program in the Atlantic 10. Coming back here, I've rejoined Xavier when we're in the Big East Conference. And not only that, it's a Big East Conference with UConn as a part of it, a 20-game season, Rick Pitino at St. John's. And, I think the timing of us coming back and being in the Big East, it represents immense and great challenges, whether it be in recruiting, coaching, night in, night out. The competitive spirit here in this league is incredible because, Scott, we don't have a football league. It's about one sport, and that's college basketball. You feel it in Madison Square Garden at the Big East tournament. So I think that coming back, there's a lot that's the same, but I think being a part of Xavier in the Big East, it's a brand new challenge, and I think it's equally exciting.
Yeah, the Big East is just amazing, and I think we all are, love the fact that it's a non-football kind of driven league. It's basketball only. It makes it unique, right? It just makes it unique to everything else, but also makes it really cool to our sport. And but I just thought that would be cool to hear your perspective on that. I have one more thing, and I'll let Michael ask one, and then we'll let you go. Zach Fremantle, talk about him for a second, because I know, I've dealt with kids that you have coached for a long time and get hurt. And it happened to Quincy his junior year to us and cost us dearly. That was my best team, and we ended up going 2-9 without him. What's it been like with this roller coaster with Zach? And look, we're all so happy to see him back and play, and I know what he means to your team. But talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, Zach's a throwback. He's never transferred. This is actually, his fifth year. He's broken his foot 3 different times, which required 3 different surgeries, all the same foot. And in addition, as you guys talked about in December, where he was off to a great start in the middle of our non-conference season, he had a weird knee injury against Cincinnati at the end of the game. And the initial diagnosis was, potential partially torn ACL. And, if you're Zach, you've had 3 season-ending surgeries with your foot, and now you have this partially torn ACL. You can make the case career over, college career over, right? Why chance anything? But upon further review, he had a significant bone bruise. His ACL was compromised just a little bit, but he had full range of motion, complete stability. And once the bone bruise subsided, heck, he came back after missing 3 weeks. And he came back and he hasn't missed a practice or a game, knock on wood, since.
Yeah.
All of us have our fingers crossed that he can have a healthy season from start to finish. But, you admire his courage. You also admire his loyalty, Scott. Yeah. And in a time where a lot of guys, where they can't play through setbacks or obstacles, injuries, illness, he wants to play college basketball. He wants to play for Xavier. He wants to finish his career here. He has his college degree. He may end up with a graduate degree as well. And he's really, in my mind, having an all Big East final season right now.
As as any new, I'll let Michael ask the question, but as any news I saw all year, him coming back was as good as thing as
Yeah.
I've seen. I mean, and not just for you, for him, the whole deal. What a great kid. Go ahead, Michael.
And I was at that Georgetown game where he came back, and it was like, was he like, I remember I was walking into the stadium and it's like, all right, he's not playing. Then it's like, you see something, it's like, oh no, he's playing. And then he plays 32 minutes off the bench. So like that. Oh, that felt good. Yeah. Just to watch. But I've got a question because I've seen clips of your podcast, watch it, obviously, aptly named the Sean Miller podcast. You said something this offseason that also like, it stuck with me as well, because you were the first coach I think I've heard mention that there isn't going to be a fifth-year transfer in the portal this year now, because the fifth year is gone, so it's just going to be 4-year guys. Talk to me about, either with your Xavier teams or just the sport in general, how you think the lack of the fifth-year guys in the portal will affect the sport as a whole.
I mean, look, there just isn't going to be as many players able to enter the portal because this is the first time that the COVID year no longer exists. So that's what I mean by that. So there's less in there, and I think it's going to be even more competitive. Now, having said that, you hear rumblings that they may make somebody who's only in their fourth year an automatic option that you could come back and have a fifth year. I don't know if that will happen. Obviously, who's making those decisions and when that will all become a formality, I don't know. But you hear things like that, which it's tough because, you make decisions, especially in recruiting, and that are based on the rules and the eligibility standards. And when those things change right in the middle or after those decisions are made, sometimes you look and say, wait, I would have never done that if I would have known the rule was going to change. So I think all of us right now, the last 2 years, you're in this spin cycle, and we're just hoping that maybe it slows down.
Yeah. Well, look, man, we'll let you go. I know you got a lot going on. You're preparing to play your buddy here on a Wednesday night. And, of course, you got to get him when he's won 3 in a row, right?
Yeah.
They're playing a lot better, right?
They're very good on offense. Butler is, and we have a lot of respect for them.
I know you do. Well, look, we're following you, always pulling for you. And, we appreciate you taking the time on a Sunday, man, to come on and talk a little hoops with us in Xavier basketball. Anytime,
Scott. Yeah, great seeing you guys.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you, Coach Miller. We will hopefully have you back on later in the year. Best of luck the rest of the way. There's a lot more we could get into. Like, I want to ask you about the Admata, the new JUCO rules, how that affects recruiting, a lot more. We appreciate the time you did give us. We appreciate you, and best of luck the rest of the way, Coach.
You got it. You guys have a great day.
Thank you. That was Xavier Headman's basketball coach, Sean Miller, giving us a lot of time, a lot of great insight. I thought really great questions and stories just to kind of see his mind work. And I thought really thoughtful answers. It would be easy for a guy like that, especially if you've got practice and you're trying to game plan, to get some questions and be like, oh, yeah, simple answers. But I thought he got really detailed and really thoughtful.
Yeah, so I've listened to his podcast before, so I knew like that. That's why I was like kind of asking the questions that I've done. Like Paul, who does it with him, is a really, really nice guy. Like, shout out to Paul. But yeah, just I was listening to the way he like breaks down things on his show, and it's like I think we could get like a little more in depth. And I mean, obviously, anybody who coaches at the D1 level is a really sharp guy. Like, really, really sharp. But the way he explains it, it's kind of easy for a guy like me to like understand and be like, yeah, that is something I thought about too. It's like, okay, interesting. So
and I had to get the Archie question in there. Yeah. I literally got inundated with, like, my niece's dad made sure he's like, make sure you ask that. I was like, okay, I will ask. Oh,
he was great. He was great. But honestly, he told an honest,
of course,
version of what it's like. And when we're on these trips, and he's right. Like, it's not like Archie wasn't playing too. So, Archie's a little full of shit, but it's like I said, he had a little fun at Sean's expense. But like I said, I've known Archie, and I know both of them a very long time, and I consider them both friends. And I enjoyed that conversation with Sean. I knew he'd be terrific for our audience.
Before we move on and talk about the big games from yesterday, Coach, I brought up a question. I told Sean I'd like to ask him, but I'll ask you until the next time we get him on here. So I don't know. I'd have to look it up, see if it went through, but I know a couple weeks ago it came out that the new JUCO rules the NCAA is apparently implementing, where you know how like a guy would go to JUCO, spend 2 years or whatever, and that would count towards his Division I time, so you'd only get 2 years with him. The rule I seen proposed, and maybe it did go through already, those JUCO and community college years don't count. Like you can go spend 2 years at JUCO, go to D1 if you're eligible, and still have full 4 years, or 4 full years. That's a tongue twister. To me, that changes how coaches and even players get evaluated, because if you're a kid that comes out that maybe you think you have D1 aspirations, but you don't get the offers maybe you want. Well, how you go to Vincent's community or JUCO, who's really historically good, develop, get stronger, mature, then get picked up if you blow up on the JUCO, and you have 4 years to go kill it in D1 instead of only 2 where it feels rushed. Like, do you think that changes recruiting and the way coaches will evaluate JUCO kids?
A little, but to me, it's only, and I'll explain in a minute why I say this, only really one more year. And that's because so many kids go to prep school now.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, the prep schools play junior colleges. That's who their games are against sometimes, right? So that year, that 5th year of high school has become pretty commonplace for a lot of kids who aren't physically mature or haven't developed yet or didn't find the right place, and they go to a prep school. Well, now if you go to a JUCO, you get that one more year, of extra. But it certainly will change how certain schools recruit. It will also, though, be interesting because so many kids don't want to go to a JUCO. I mean,
right.
It's not like it'd be interesting to see if this becomes this new sexy thing to do. I don't know that it will for so many kids, but Josh, it will definitely benefit some. There's no question it will, and it will cause all of us and hopefully me here soon.
You will be
to rethink some of that stuff if that actually becomes fact and a rule.
Yeah, I know it had been proposed. I need to double check, make sure that went through, but it's something to keep an eye on. And I've been thinking about it.
Yeah, Auburn picked up a JUCO kid yesterday, Abdi Bashir, dead-eye shooter. So, I just thought that was another, Auburn's one of the D1 programs that it's, already been taking JUCO guys, and, they've made it really work versus some other schools. It's been more difficult, but they picked up a JUCO kid yesterday, so just thought that was really interesting.
I think about how valuable JUCOs are, too. When I was in school, I was in middle going into high school. My high school, we used to go summer camp at Vincennes, and Vincennes was historically great at the JUCO level. Won national championships, always in the mix. And I met a dude named Carl Landry, kid from Milwaukee, 6'8" power forward, befriended him. The next couple of years, we'd go to those team camps, and he would be there. Well, he ends up signing with Purdue, ends up becoming an all Big Ten player, ends up playing for the Rockets for a number of years in 2006, 7, 8, 9, or whatever. So the JUCO route, you can find some absolute gems out of the JUCO route if you're scouting and development already. I just think it's an interesting thing to keep an eye on. Speaking of Auburn, by the way, 345 live watchers in with us right now. It keeps going up. Keep pumping that up. We appreciate it. Leave your comments. Make sure if you're on the YouTube, like, subscribe, and all that. This has been a hell of a start already. But let's get into the action from this last weekend. Number 1 Auburn on the road at number 2 Alabama. Game day was there. The first ever time the SEC has a 1v2. This is the second time Bruce Pearl has been a part of a 1v2. If you recall, in 2008, his number 2 ranked Tennessee Volunteers went to number 1 Memphis and knocked off D Rose and company. And now he comes in as the number 1 team in the country on the road, and his team gets it done again. Alabama at home never leads this ball game. Not 1 second of this game does Alabama lead at home in front of the Coleman Coliseum crowd. Auburn 94, Alabama 85. Janai Broome, 33 minutes, 19 points, 14 rebounds, 6 assists. They got contributions from Miles Kelly, had stretches where he was good. He pours in 15. There in the early part of the second half, Denver Jones hits 3 straight threes. He gives them 16. 14 from Chaney Johnson, who I thought defensively and on the backboard was amazing. Chad Baker-Mazzara, 15. They got 13 from Todd Pettiford, who really did some damage, a couple minute stretches there in the second half. The story of this game, though, Coach, we know how high-powered Alabama's offense is. They held the Crimson Tide to 5 of 26 from the three-point line, shut their water off an individual man-to-man defense, cutting the guys off going to the rim, forcing them to have to go to the rim and then stand at home on the shooters on the corner and the wings. They really frustrated Alabama all game long. Auburn continues to prove why they are the best team in college basketball.
And to another point in this game was, granted, Alabama doesn't force a ton of turnovers, but when they play at a fast pace, this game was 78 possessions. Auburn only had 4 turnovers in 78 possessions. They turned the ball over only 4 times. That's a huge statement there. And especially with how some of these guards are, Todd Pettiford is really young. And I didn't think he played particularly well in this game until the very end. When like the game, Alabama made a push to tie the game up. Like Sears got going. Sears hit his only 3. Like they went on that run to tie the game. Todd Pettiford was the guy who punched back. And he wasn't playing his best game. He came off the bench, got to the bucket a couple times, scored, just did enough to get this team in the lead. Huge respect to him. This Auburn team is just tough. They're just wired differently. I think that's the main take with them. And Janai Broome was great in this game. Obviously, I mean, he's either the guy or the number 2 for National Player of the Year for good reason. He is awesome. But
he got hurt again too.
Yeah.
Thought he got hurt again badly there. He had to come out the game, but then he came right back.
Yeah, as soon as Dylan Cardwell was in foul trouble, it's like, oh boy, okay, what's Auburn going to do? Oh, Janai Broome decided to put on his shoe and come back out there. Like, huge respect.
Right.
But the way like Denver Jones hit shots in this game, you got production off the bench from Chaney Johnson, Chad Baker-Mazara, and Todd Pettiford, all scored in double figures. This Auburn team is just really good, and they really frustrated Alabama in a spot though where it could have been like, it's a huge moment for these guys. Like some of these guys, like Todd Pettiford, again, really young. He's a freshman. This could have been a game where the moment got to him. You're going against Mark Sears, who some called entering the season the National Player of the Year before the season began. And he answered the call. He was ready for the moment. And Janai Broome obviously ready for the moment. This Auburn team in general just wired different. And they showed you that they're a national title contender. And to our earlier point, we were talking about resumes and tournament rankings. Auburn has 14 Q1 wins this season. Nobody else has more than 8.
It's crazy.
Dominant.
Coach, they got Chaney Johnson, played phenomenal defense, stuck his nose in for rebounds. If you get your guys off the bench to do that, to pair off with your elite starting lineup, like they are just impossible to beat when they play like that.
And here's the thing with them. And first of all, let me start by saying I was totally wrong on this game. I thought Alabama would beat them. Not because I didn't think Auburn was great. I just thought Alabama could match him at home and shoot the ball better, obviously, and win. But here's the thing about Auburn. The more I watch them, the more scary they become because they can beat you so many ways. And that's what makes them, I think, is their biggest strength. Whether it's a freshman point guard or a National Player of the Year candidate or a guy off the bench or Denver Jones guarding Mark Sears or whatever ways you want to play, they can play and they can beat you at it. And it makes them damn good.
Well, and coach, to that point, like most teams, you say, well, if we can't take Janai Broome out of the game, we can focus. We'll take Miles Kelly out the game. All right, take both of them out the game. Denver Jones is going to step up, hit 3 straight threes to kill any momentum. Todd Pettiford, to Michael's point, is going to make tough plays. Chad Baker-Mazara is going to get under your skin and then bury a 3 and talk shit to you. Like, they have so many weapons.
They do.
And we've talked about Bruce always, like, you go back to his Tennessee teams, he would play 10, 11 guys a lot of times. And he did it last year when Auburn was really good. I know they lost in the first round to Yale, but he plays all these dudes. So, like, it's not like a playing time factor. He'll recruit the shit out of a 12-man roster and play 11 of them. And you see the depth building towards the end of the year. They're just such a handful. Alabama could not buy a bucket from the three-point line. They just could not shoot. And we've talked about high volume, high tempo. They're not the greatest shot percentage making team. 5 of 26 reared its ugly head. And to their credit, they were in this game the whole way. Tied the game up there in the second half on a run, but they could never grab the lead, never let Coleman Coliseum really make Auburn feel the pressure. And that's one of the things, if you have any concerns about Alabama as we move forward to March, is what happens when they play a team that can cut their water off from the three-point line. Alabama, we talked about on the preview Thursday, people see their tempo and think, of course they shoot 35 threes, and that's what they want to do. Their MO is to get to the rim, and Auburn cut the water off there too. They cut the water off of making it difficult to get to the rim and finish, and they cut the water off at the three-point line. If Alabama, let's say they run into a Houston who's elite defensively that can kind of do similar things, that's where Alabama could be tripped up and not make a Final Four.
And just one quick point to Coach's point earlier, again, that Auburn can beat you in multiple ways. 2 wins this season they have of many. Houston, Alabama. They beat Houston in a 62-possession game. They beat Alabama in a 78-possession game.
Both on the road.
On the road, both. Yeah.
They've won me over. I'm all, hey, they are really, really, really good.
And
by every metric, by eye test, by talent, by coaching, whatever.
They pass it all.
Yeah. Alabama won the foul battle. They had 2 fewer fouls. They got to the free throw line 3 more times, made 4 more free throws. and Auburn still goes on the road and hangs 94 and beats them by 9. I mean, what are we talking about with Auburn right now? They're that good, the clear number 1 team in the country. And I said it in a tweet from our official account, and I will say it here on the show. If you are one of these people, because they lost at home last week, their first loss in like a month and a half to another top 10 team, and you did not have them number 1 yet again coming in this week, you should be ashamed. Like, we will throw the shame on you right now because that's ridiculous. Because they lost, you automatically drop them. Some people in our poll had them number 3. They had them behind Duke and Alabama. Guys, Auburn's the best team in the country. Period. End. Stop. They're the best team in the country. They should be number 1. I don't give a shit if they come out and lose to Arkansas on Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever they play. That's the number 1 team in the country. Great performance by the Tigers on the road. Bruce Pearl joins the list. I don't know if you guys got to see that. They showed the list yesterday of coaches who have multiple 1v2 wins in these matchups. Pearl got his second yesterday. He joins a list of I think Wooden's got the most with like 10. Adolph Rupp's got like 6. Coach K's got like 7. So he joins an elite list of coaches who have multiple 1v2 wins in those type of matchups. Pearl's great, man. Pearl's great. Auburn's great. Alabama's still a really great team. They just got beat by an even better team yesterday, and I can't wait for that rematch 3 weeks from yesterday when they end the regular season playing up there or down there in Auburn, Alabama. Should be really interesting stuff. Let's talk about, we alluded to Wisconsin and Purdue. Number 16 ranked Badgers go to number 7 Purdue in Mackey Arena. And fellas, they shot 72% in the second half. I want you to let that digest for a second. Or not in the second. It was overall, wasn't it? Not just second half. It was overall, right?
I thought it was second half.
Okay, so the second half, yes, 72%. That's an insane shooting performance. They made, like, what did they say, down the stretch, like their final 11 field goals or something. They get 32 from John Tanji, who was the Ken Pom MVP. He chipped in 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 of 9 from the three-point line. They get 17 from Max Klesmit, 11 from John Blackwell, 12 from Nolan Winter, 11 from the freshman Jack Janicki, and 17 minutes. I thought this was a great performance. They go 12 of 30 from the three-point line on a really good Purdue defense. Coach, Badgers 94, Boilermakers 84 in Mackey Arena. We talked about it a little bit when we did that top 16 reveal, but Wisconsin is not a team that you want to play right now.
No, let's give them all their flowers. They deserve to be talked about, praised. Just tremendous win, but they've been playing well. Now, this isn't like out of the total blue now. They've been playing well. And their offensive numbers and the way they've kind of evolved into this, high scoring team, because they get such a reputation, right? There's such a stigma placed on some of these programs and teams. Well, let's give, their staff and their team really credit for being this now high-powered offense that is a serious problem to defend.
Yeah, and you mentioned how well they shot from 3, Josh. Look at how well they shot from 2.
I know.
20 of 22 from inside the arc.
What?
20 of 22. Yeah.
They missed 2 shots, Coach.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And DeRosa, if you remember Thursday, I'm sorry, hopefully this plays into the point you were going to make. When we previewed this Thursday, we all picked Purdue. But if you remember, we all laid out kind of the blueprint, like, hey, Wisconsin can win this game if they kind of do this, shoot the 3 well, get a big game from Tanji and Klesmit. Those things happen. What we didn't factor in is them just being so incredible inside the 3-point arc.
And John Tanji's playing like an All-American. Like, do not get me wrong, he was special in this game. But going back and watching this game, Max Klesmit really impressed me. So the way Wisconsin's able to play is they play a ton of 5-out actions because both Winter and Crowell are really able to shoot that. You have to respect them from beyond the arc. And in the beginning of this game, I believe Wisconsin, their first 4 made buckets were 3s. It was either 3 or 4. Like, they got going from the outside to start, then kind of hit the interior. But those guys are really able to space out the floor, and it opens up driving lanes for guys like John Tanji. But in this game, Max Klesmit was really finding spots and finding guys. He had 6 assists, but I felt like he had like 5 or 6 hockey assists too, where he would make the pass, get it to a guy, one more kick for a shot. I thought he was really excellent in this game. The way he just controlled this game, he was really, really solid. Braden Smith on the other end, obviously, 12 assists, 1 turnover. He really controlled the game. But watching it back, Max Klesmit to me was like the most impressive player because we know how good John Tanji is. How Max Klesmit played was impressive to me. And at the end of this game, when it got close, John Tanji made free throws. He made like plays, obviously. Max Klesmit did the same. But when it came down to bucket making time, who's that guy? It was John Blackwell. John Blackwell had 2 really clutch buckets in the game. He had one really nice drive, or I believe he had a spin and then finished with a little floater. And then he had like just this like powerful step through layup when Braden Smith tried to press him. I thought he made plays too, the sophomore. He has been really impressive to me this year. This Wisconsin team is really balanced. They know how to play with each other, and the ball movement they have, if you've watched them play, is beautiful. The way they move the ball is just, yeah.
Well, how many times there late in the game when Purdue would try to get back in the game did they play 29 seconds of phenomenal defense and then got back cut towards the rim late in the clock? Yeah. Like Wisconsin, we don't talk about their offense in the same vein as we do a Kentucky or Florida or Alabama or Auburn.
Yeah.
But they do the same principles to what Michael says. They play 5 out. They got bigs who can pass. They will back cut and cut you to death. And then if you make a mistake on like a cut or a ball screen and you go under, they're going to make you pay from 3. This is a really good, and they're tough as shit. Like Greg guards, go back to Bo Ryan. Wisconsin, you usually never out tough them. Yeah. And they're tough as shit, and they make plays and they got shooters. I want to bring up real quick a controversial moment early in this game. Kamari McGee gets a same way to the JT Toppin ejection from the Texas Tech game a few weeks ago. Kamari McGee, coach, I don't understand it. He got a pin down ran against him, and I think he was guarding Fletcher Lawyer. I think so it was. They said Purdue set a pin down. I think it was TKR. And he's trying to blow the screen up. He didn't like maliciously throw a shoulder. He didn't throw an elbow. He hit the dude in the nuts. Like that's what happened. He hit the dude in the nuts, trying to like go over the top of the screen and blow it up. They ejected him for it.
I didn't see the play. If described like you just said, that's frustrating, obviously. I mean, look, it's a physical game. If a guy's going to set a screen physical and you're trying to get through it to guard a really good player and there's contact, whether it's in an inappropriate spot or not, that to me, it's if the kid's just trying to get to where he's going defensively. Michael, chime in and help me here. Did you see it? And what's your view on it?
No, I didn't see it. They didn't show it on like the little YouTube thing I watched. So yeah,
I will find it, send a video to our group chat.
I believe you. I just wondered if anybody else saw it besides Josh. Those ejections are weak. I mean, that's 2 in a row that just completely did not deserve to occur if that's the situation. And obviously the Tech one was absurd. So anyway.
I'm sending it right now. When you guys get a chance to go look at this.
Both teams in this situation too, Texas Tech and then Wisconsin here, they both won.
Yes. How about that?
Yeah.
Great point.
Shows a lot about those 2 teams that they're damn good.
Let's go. Yesterday we had a battle out in Arizona for the top of the Big 12 conference. We hyped this game up. Number 6 Houston goes on the road to number 13 Arizona and pulls out a low-scoring victory as we kind of expected, 62-58. Arizona had every opportunity in this game to win, but Houston made the plays at the end, stifled Arizona, had a couple shots late, caused them to miss, get the rebound, go step up and make free throws. Houston only went 7 of 9 from the foul line, but made the ones down the stretch that really mattered and kind of iced the game. It was a weird game from Houston's perspective, too, because not from the defensive end, holding Arizona under 60, we expect that from Houston. But Milos Uzan he had 19, Cryer at 15. Nobody else from the Cougars were in double figures. Arizona was led by Caleb Love, 17. KJ Lewis off the bench had 13. They didn't have anybody else in double figures. Weird game. Arizona backed up a 2 for, 22 three-point shooting night at Kansas State with a 5 of 23 three-point shooting night against Houston. So you kind of wonder about them from the three-point line here lately, where their head's at. Houston didn't shoot much better, 5 of 17. Not really their MO, despite us talking about just recently how percentage-wise they've been shooting it well. But Houston goes and does Houston things and stifles Arizona's offense and gets a big-time win and firmly puts themselves in control of the Big 12, Coach.
I mean, look, we talked about it at length. Zero surprise on my end. I mean, that game as much summed up who they are and what that program is as any game they'll ever play. They just refuse to lose. And that old stupid saying that people sometimes this team is old, veteran, tough, won these games over and over. And when it comes down to the last 2 minutes like that, I'm so confident Houston's going to find a way and they just keep doing it. So until they don't, I'm just going to keep picking Houston.
DeRosa, my guy, Henry Visar started the game off hot. he had 7 pretty early. And that's all he ends up with in 25 minutes. But it looked like early on that he was going to have a big game, kind of like I've been talking about here lately. And Arizona may be able to steal one here. Ultimately, they kind of cut his water off too. And just look, if Caleb Love led them in scoring with 17, right? He played 38 minutes, 17 points, 6 of 15 from the field, which for him is not terrible. 6 of 15, it's better than 6 of 25. 7 assists. I thought he was okay in this game. Decent, even pretty good. But if they can't get him and the other guards, like Jaden Bradley only had 4 in 37 minutes, if they can't get those 2 guards going, Arizona's offense just kind of.
Yeah. I thought in this game, I mean, I don't have too many. I went back and watched, but I just don't have too many takeaways. One, just about every bucket Arizona scored felt like it either was in like a straight fast break. They were only given 18 fast break points, but it felt like more, or it came in like secondary transition. Like when the game was in the half court, it felt like they really couldn't get anything. It was kind of like either Caleb Love would ISO, and he was really the only guy creating anything. So to Josh's point, yeah, I don't think he played poorly. Like it was just, he was the guy they tasked with beating Houston's defense. And this is Houston's defense. That's not an easy thing to do. And on the other side, I kind of gave this guy a little bit of shit early in the season. Like just especially when I was like watching Houston play before the Butler game. It's like, all right, I didn't think Butler was going to win, but it's like this Houston team isn't the same. They are as years past. They are. And part of that is because Milos Uzan has started to really emerge. He is really, really good. In this game, 8 of 12 from the field, 19 points, 5 assists, 0 turnovers. He was just excellent. He is truly excellent, and got to give him his complete flowers. He's amazing.
No question. You nailed it. That is the reason his transformation or his confidence or his settling into the program is the difference.
Yeah. Coach, Arizona led at halftime 30-25. From that point on, Houston kept Arizona at only 28 second half points. It's unbelievable. It's 28 second half points for an offense like that.
8 out of 10 games. It's all the time. This is no aberration. This isn't luck. This is the fact. You want to beat them, you better be you better have guards that can get in the paint and get by a defender, and you better make open shots. You cannot miss the open ones against them. They will make you pay because they challenge so well. And I think I said this on this show before. They're also the best I've ever seen as the ball leaves your hand as a pass to all 5 guys moving defensively at the same time. It's the best I've ever seen.
It's like a puppeteer with a marionette. They just move and they all move
ball
together.
In the air, they move like they're shot out of a cannon.
I want to see Coach Sampson, like if they run shell drill, how that looks like when they're breaking it down, because that's a great point where they pass when the pass is in the air, they're all moving at the same time. I'd love to see like them in like a shell drill and just see the movement going back and forth.
Tremendous.
Well, let's go to the Big Ten, where Tom Izzo finally, after losing Tuesday night at home to Indiana, he was stuck tied with Bob Knight. We talked about it last Saturday after the win against Oregon. He breaks the tie with Bob Knight and becomes the all-time Big Ten wins leader at 354 now. They go to Illinois, and a night where they honored Terrence Shannon Jr., which is great, right? But they hung the damn jersey upside down. They hung the jersey upside down. How do you not have quality control to be like, yeah, let's make sure this looks good. There's no like wrinkles. There's no deformities. It's upside down in front of his family. They watched them reveal and take that curtain off, and it goes upside down. What? What are we doing?
It's the worst thing I've ever seen, I think. I felt so bad for that kid and his family. You're right, Josh. I like it's unfathomable to me that whoever hung it did not recognize that it's upside down. Somebody explain that to me, Michael.
How do they not have like 7 people looking at it being like, yes, this is good? That is the whole pitch to this game is you're playing a top 10 team and you are honoring the best player you've had since Darren Williams.
T-shirts, bobbleheads. Yeah, the whole deal.
His family. What do you think's going through not only Terrence Shannon Jr.'s head, but his family, his mom and his sisters, whoever else was there, like excited, and they see that. I would, 1, laugh my ass off openly. 2, I would probably feel disrespected. Be like, you didn't do this for Darren Williams. You didn't do it for D. Williams. You didn't do it for any of them. You made sure that shit was right. But my son, you're gonna do it upside down? Come on now.
It's as bad as a mistake as I it's real. Like I said, I just cannot honestly believe that an athletic department of that level would put that jersey upside down. It's almost, if I didn't see it, Twitter didn't put it, it's almost like I wouldn't believe it. I mean, come on, shut up. Come on.
Yeah, it's truly unbelievable. And I just want to point out that Ed Cooley, and one point when he was like sitting with Jaden Epps, I believe he called Illinois like a joke program.
Yep.
It takes kind of aging well at this point. Bullshit program.
Let's talk.
The game, didn't they finish the game 0-for-19?
So I was about to bring that up. Let's talk about the game real quick. Illinois went I think they said the final 8 minutes of the game, 0 field goals.
Yeah.
Not one field goal made in the final 8 minutes. I mean, Michigan State in the last 8 minutes didn't tear the world on fire after the game was tied, but they go on a 14-0 run over the final 8 and win this game 79-65. For an offense as good when they're clicking as Illinois is to not score a single field goal
at home
in the final 8 minutes at home, we have real issues with Illinois. I don't know what it is. I mean, Yakachonis leads or ties for the point leader for Illinois with 17. Morris Johnson, the freshman, gives them 17. 13 from Will Riley off the bench. They got nothing out of Ben Hummerkaus. They got nothing out of Tomislav Visic. They got absolutely nothing from Kylan Boswell, who literally gave them 0 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 turnover, 1 block. Like, they got nothing, and I'm starting to worry about Illinois. Like, you look, they were on a roll after they beat Penn State. They lose USC, bounce back within Indiana, lose 2, win 1, lose 1, win 1, lose 1, win 2, lose 1. Their next schedule, too, is brutal. Wisconsin, Duke, Iowa, Michigan on the road, Purdue at home. There's a chance Illinois ends the year with 12 or 13 losses if things go south. This was a team that we were talking about weeks ago that could, a 2 or 3 seed, like could win the Big Ten and could do all these special things because of that offense and the way they spread you out and do all this stuff. Now we're talking about a team that's going to go in the NCAA tournament and probably as a 9 seed, 8, 9, 10 seed, maybe even.
I think the thing with Illinois is what made them so special early in the season was that Kasparas Jekachonis looked like an NBA player, and the way they were able to run him in pick and rolls, he's 6'6", like he's a big guy, and the teams just didn't have an answer. I think just because there are more games on tape, teams have more of an answer on how to guard him, how to approach those pick and rolls, because Illinois is doing the same stuff. They're just not getting the same quality of looks, and I really think that's part of the answer is just teams have more things on tape. They've got more answers. And you mentioned it. Illinois was 7 of 33 from 3 in this game. Michigan State shot 12, but made 5 of them. Jackson Kohler hit 4. And I looked into it last night. He made 8 on the season, and then he made 4 last night. So credit to him. But I think teams are just finding the answer in how to guard Illinois. And maybe once you get out of conference play, that other teams will try to see it. And it's a little different because conference teams just kind of know how to guard like a Brad Underwood style. If this is kind of an offense he's run over the years, maybe out of conference teams just kind of haven't seen him as much. So they don't have the answers to it. But I just think the more games on tape, teams are finding answers.
I completely agree with that. Let's rapid fire a couple of these real quick so we can move on and talk about some games coming up this week. Coach, you were at this one last night. Texas 82, who back against the wall, needed a win. They were on the bubble. They win 82 over let me say that again. Texas beats number 14, Kentucky, 82-78. In a game Kentucky honestly controlled the majority of the way, had a 7-point lead at one point, blew it, had a 5-point lead under 4 minutes to go, and decided that we're not going to make free throws. We're going to unforced turnovers. And then a kid named Trey Johnson, who we've raved about all year, went nuts for a 30-piece. That was not because Kentucky, let me say this, not a bad loss in terms because Kentucky being down 3 guys, two point guards and your emergency point guard, top scorers and all that. They were underdogs in this game. Not a bad loss in the terms of, hey, it's a Q1 and all that. Bad loss in that you had the game in hand and should have seen it out and you shut down your leg and gave up a win. That's the frustrating part for me. But Trey Johnson and, the kid from Arkansas that transferred in lefty. I can't think of his name. Tremont Mark, thank you. They went nuts combined for 60. Texas needed to win. They got it, Coach.
Big win for Texas. I mean, you're right. It was almost a must have to, you don't like to do that in mid-February, but after losing at Vanderbilt and getting beat by 30 at home by Bama, this is one they really needed to have. And I will say this, being there live, couple things stood out to me. One, I haven't got to see college basketball games live in a long time. Big Blue Nation, very impressive.
We travel, baby. We travel better than anybody.
I think they would tell you the Moody Center is as nice as any arena in the country because it is. It is absolutely gorgeous. And then Trey Johnson, I'm telling you, like his ability and talent was so on display that he would not let them lose the game. That he's just phenomenal player.
Some of the shots he made against contact, switching the
incredible.
left hand off the glass. And look, Kentucky had to switch, and there was times that Trent Noah and Travis Perry got matched up on Trey Johnson, DeRosa. That is barbecue chicken. Those dudes actually played halfway decent, like positional defense, got chest up, got cut off his driving lanes. He's just so good. You can't have those kids on him.
Yeah, and I think the injury to Lamont Butler in particular makes a huge difference in this game because you don't have a point of attack defender.
Kentucky wins that game with Lamont or Jackson, especially with both of them.
Yeah, I don't think they have, you don't have the point of attack defender to stop a Trey Johnson, stop a Tremont Mark when those two really got going. Because aside from that, Texas really wasn't getting anything from anybody. But those two guys were awesome. Texas was really good on the offensive glass, and they just did enough to find a way to win. Got to credit them, as Coach hit. This was a must-win game. To me, watching some of the other teams in the country, like watching Georgia this weekend, losing that game, that kind of makes me think, you're dead this year. You're dead. Your season's dead. This was a game where if Texas lost, they're dead, and they didn't lose. They're still pretty dangerous.
They were the big SEC bubble winners this weekend because Arkansas lost, Georgia lost, Oklahoma got beat by LSU. Yeah. Texas on the bubble with a bunch of those teams got to win, and they needed it. Let me go on just a brief rant. I'll keep it under a minute. I haven't went on a crazy rant, and this will be to a certain subsection of Big Blue Nation who I got into an argument with last night because I'm tired of it. Do you not think if Jackson Robinson and Lamont Butler as seniors, knowing their college career is almost over, knowing how hard they play as competitors and warriors, that if they could play even through an injury that they wouldn't be out there? A lot of people are trying to say, well, Jackson Robinson, they're insinuating his wrist. Oh, it's just a sore wrist. Well, he played against South Carolina. Yeah, you dumbasses. He played. He gets it tweaked. They realize, oh, shit, this could be worse than what it's thinking. Let's err on the side of caution. Let's try to get him back when it matters the most in March instead of, let's roll him out in Texas. Maybe he does even more damage. He's over with, and you don't have him for March. For people to think that their doctors be like, well, he could play, just tape it up. One, you idiot, it's a shooting wrist. Tape a shooting wrist up and see how effective he is. And two, how about you cut the kid some damn slack? Huh? You're not a doctor. You don't know the pain tolerance. You don't know what he's going through. Stop. Just because you want him to be out there because we lost the game like that does not give you the right to say, well, it's just a sore wrist. Fuck you. How about that? How about that?
Well, look, listen to what Sean said about Fremantle, right? And my point is, look, I don't know who said what. I honestly really don't care. That's your world, not mine. All I know is these kids want to play. I can tell you. And Jackson Robinson wants to play. And it's unfortunate that that's what it gets to. I'll leave it at that. I just think the Fremantle example Sean gave was a great example for everybody listening, that they're injured, but they want to get back and they want to hoop. These kids are hoopers, and those two kids included.
It's annoying that people, because what they want, they don't care about the best interests of other people, and it's annoying. And I apologize for dropping the F word. I haven't done it in over a year or so I apologize. That's my one and only time. But it's annoying. You don't know how somebody's pain tolerance is. You're not a doctor. Stop insinuating just because we lost and, well, you think he should play. Most of you act like you're so tough and like, oh, I would tape it up and I'd do anything. No, you wouldn't. No, you would not. So quit.
Earmuffs, Mom. Put your earmuffs on.
Yeah, I apologize for that. But DeRosa, you got anything on that? Because I think people are dumb.
Especially when your season's legitimately a thing, there's no reason kids are sitting out. Those two kids, I can tell you they want to play. What amount of watching Lamont Butler play makes you think that guy's a quitter? Of all people, watching him play, it's just kind of ridiculous to me. There are some situations where guys are sitting out. Keyshawn Hall last year for me is the one where his team was really good because of him. He was the guy who was averaging 5 points a game at UNLV, maybe less. He transferred to George Mason and was awesome, all league caliber guy, all league first team caliber guy. Then he just sits out for the last 5 games with this ankle injury that very clearly wasn't an ankle injury, just because he was going to transfer. He was yeah, I'm going to get more money somewhere. Those are the instances where it's yeah, fan bases have rights to be pissed. There are other instances in the country where this happens, some of which we know about, some of which we don't. But you think Lamont Butler in his final year of college basketball is going to quit?
Yeah.
Bullshit.
It's
Fuck
crazy. It's
Sorry,
crazy.
Mom. Sorry, Coach Bear's mom.
Hey, last one I want to talk about so I can move on because I feel my blood pressure going up at these people. I just want to strangle them sometimes. Seton Hall takes down UConn in overtime. They were down, what was it? They were down 7 with 50 seconds to go. They were down 5 with like 30 seconds to go. They force overtime. They're down in OT. Come back, hit a shot late to win the game. Look, Seton Hall is 204 in KenPom now. Before that, they were up in like the 220s, I think. That is an awful, awful, awful loss for Connecticut. And I've seen some people, bracketologists we trust, that were asked about this. If Connecticut is in trouble now, they said not yet, but they are flirting now with being right there on the bubble. Like if they take another bad loss like that, like Connecticut could be sweating it out on Selection Sunday. That was an awful loss.
No way around it. And how they lost is crazy. The kid tried to split the double team, lost the ball, just wait and get fouled. There was 4 or 5 seconds left. They also didn't they throw away an inbounds pass that Caravan threw away? Didn't they throw another one? I mean,
they just unraveled.
They just handled it like a team that had never won anything, and this team's won everything.
Yeah. And I don't know, the last play for Seton Hall where they end up getting the 3, they have this inbound play. It's a nice inbound play. They get a dunk, miss it. The ball gets out. They get the loose ball rebound, kick it around a little bit. Dylan Adaiwusu just throws up this 3 and money 10. And that's how they send it to overtime.
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Look,
so sometimes, but if you let it get that close, sometimes you deserve what comes your way. I mean, even though it's random.
Look, Connecticut on their resume, they've got Baylor, Texas, Gonzaga, Xavier's. We've talked to Sean. That's getting up there to a better win. And Marquette. And Creighton. So they've got some good wins. But Seton Hall is not a good loss. Could really hurt them. And they've got potential for a couple more bad ones. Like if they drop to Georgetown or Providence on the road and they got Seton Hall again. Look, if they drop a couple more bad ones like that, or just lose, like they could lose Villanova, St. John's, Marquette, that gives them 11 losses. Guys, they're in the bubble. Like we're talking about the reigning 2-time defending champs having to go to the Madison Square Garden and do some work to solidify their NCAA tournament. It's a weird time, man. It's a really weird time. Thankfully for them, they got that win at Creighton on Tuesday, or else they could be really in trouble right now. Great win for Seton Hall. Desperately needed it, but that is a disgusting loss from Connecticut. No way around it. What we want to do now before we move on is shout out our friends and sponsors over at W Energy. W is a clean energy drink made to give you focus with no crash, jitters, or angst like other energy drinks. They have no maltodextrin fillers and don't use artificial dyes. W is made in an FDA-inspected facility that strictly adheres to GMP manufacturing guidelines. If you go visit www.w.gg, find you something that you like. You see it on the screen right now, the Galaxy Grenade. They're good flavors, kind of some different stuff. If you like kind of strawberry kiwi, or like if you like the old popsicle stuff, like the dreamsicles, they have kind of a flavor like that. Just scoop the protein powder, or they'll come in little packets if you get the sampler. Mix it in a bottle of water or a glass of water, give it a little shake or stir. It is really good stuff. You don't feel weird after it. Go purchase something at checkout. Use promo code ECB10. You're going to save yourself 10% off your order. We appreciate W hopping on board with us this year. Go check them out. I promise you I would not sell you something if I didn't try it and believe in it myself. It's really good product. Go get yourself a supply now. I'm still kind of worked up. I'm stuttering over my words right now. Let's look ahead to this week, though. Couple games of note. I don't think this week's early week slate is as good as maybe last week's, but obviously heart of conference play. We're getting down to the nitty gritty here. Some good stuff. So let's stay with UConn. On Tuesday night, Villanova goes on the road to number 22 UConn in a game that both teams need, obviously, for their NCAA tournament lives. Connecticut, with their analytics, they're 35th in KenPom, 17-8. They're in a better spot than Villanova, but Villanova coming off that big win earlier in the week against St. John's, followed up yesterday with a 13-point loss on the road to Providence, 15-11. They need wins. They need high-quality wins. Their schedule, the next 2, is brutal, but great opportunities if you want to keep yourself on this soft bubble. DeRosa, can Villanova, who's already beaten Connecticut 68-66 about a month ago, can they get the series sweep up in Gamble Pavilion?
You mentioned Villanova beat UConn in the first game. UConn's coming off an embarrassing loss. Give me UConn. That's it. By a lot.
That's 2. Nothing else needs to be said.
Yep.
Look, I'll say this. I think at home obviously helps Connecticut. But if they let Eric Dixon, and we saw how good Wooga Poplar was against St. John's, if they let him get going, we know Connecticut's defense has not been great this year. All I'm saying is if Villanova can get out in front and those two carry the load, I think there's an opportunity Villanova goes up and puts a real kind of worry danger time in Connecticut season. I think Connecticut bounces back, gets a win at home, but would not be shocked at all if this isn't a 2-point game coming down the wire and Villanova has a chance to win this game. Would not be shocked at all. Let's go to stay on Tuesday. Number 7, Purdue on the road at number 9, Michigan State. Both teams, we talked about Michigan State getting a win on the road. Purdue loses at home. Big Ten race is tight. Michigan has firm control over the Big Ten Conference now. Michigan State is only a half game behind Michigan. Purdue is a game and a half, I think, right? Purdue's 11-4 in conference. Michigan State 11-3 and Michigan 11-2. Michigan has a chance today against Ohio State to go 12-2.
Up
so
5.5.
So it puts Purdue, a game and a half back. So both teams are still in the mix here for the Big Ten race. One of them's got to take an L on Tuesday night. Coach, who do you favor in this matchup?
Boy, these are one of these. There's a couple of these that come on here. I listen to you talk, and I'm like, I have no idea who the hell's going to win this game.
Close, right?
Couple things. Michigan's up 5.5, and Memphis is tied at 71 with 16 seconds left.
I got it on my screen. I've had it on the whole time here.
I didn't mean to go sideways there. Back to my prediction. Flip a coin. I will take Purdue.
I'm going to disagree with Coach here. I got Michigan State. I
have no reason, Michael. Yeah. I had no.
Just the way Michigan State plays offense, they want to beat you inside the arc, and Purdue's interior defense is not good. So that's just kind of the matchup to me.
Michigan State in conference play and Big Ten play alone, leading the conference in offensive rebound percentage at 37.4%. And free throw percentage. They're shooting 81% from foul line. I think those are the two big factors. We've talked about Purdue lacks interior depth outside of Trey Kaufman-Renn. Michigan State will, under Tom Izzo, love to just pound it inside and keep pounding it inside. I think foul trouble becomes an issue for Purdue. I think Purdue's road to hoe is if Braden Smith does Braden Smith things and they get something out of Fletcher Lawyer. I think Michigan State eats them up on the inside in the paint. I think they dominate paint points. Use that secondary break to get out and get some open threes and on 2-on-1, 3-on-1 fast breaks. I think Michigan State just dominates them at the line, dominates them on the backboard. I got Sparty winning, staying nip and tuck with Michigan. And think about this. Purdue loses again. That makes them 11-5 at conference. Wisconsin's 10-4 could pass them. UCLA's 10-5. You're talking about Purdue now all of a sudden outside that double bye and would have to play on Thursday instead of Friday, the Big Ten Conference Tournament. The extra game we've talked about is a big, big thing. Purdue could be slipping out of the top 4 in the Big Ten with a loss on Tuesday night. Something to kind of keep in mind and monitor here.
I need to call 30.
Do what?
I need to call 30-second timeout.
Okay.
Did you see the UConn South Carolina women's score?
I was about to bring that up. We were talking about the last game.
60-33 UConn.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And
Paige
and Azzi,
30.
Those two
They're winning by 30.
Paige and Azzi are combined for 22 points on 23 shots. They're not even playing crazy. Paige is 9. Azzi's doing more of the scoring, and Paige is 9 assists to just 1.
30.
They're playing well, but yeah, that's a statement and a half.
Holy cow! Sorry, that was just
no.
Yeah,
no. We also have. Hey, I love it. We have another big women's game today. Texas and LSU top 5 matchup. I think that's about to tip off here in a little bit. Good day for women's college basketball. You know we love the women over here. Let's stay in the SEC since we just talked about 2 women's teams playing here a little bit. We've got on Wednesday night, number 2 Alabama on the road at number 15 Missouri. Alabama coming off the loss to Auburn. They fall a game behind in the conference standings to Auburn, which makes sense. Missouri hanging around at 8-4. They're only a game out of that coveted top 4 spot in the seeding line we've talked about. I think this is an upset waiting to happen. Alabama will be pissed off that they lost that rivalry game, 1v2 and all that. But Missouri has been really, really good at home this year. The pace should be off the charts from both teams. I expect 50 or more combined 3-point shots to go up. But I'm telling you, there is something special going on right now. out there. And what's Missouri's building called? What's it called? Where's it at? Doesn't say that. It doesn't say. So it just says Missouri Arena. So we'll just call it that. They've been really. They've only got one loss, and that was last Saturday. Texas A&M came from behind to beat them. It took an incredible Wade Taylor 3 to beat them. I think this is an upset waiting to happen. Ken Pom favors Missouri 86-85. I agree with Ken Pom. I'm going Missouri upset and really shaking up the SEC.
Boy, man, I could see Missouri winning. Obviously, he's done a phenomenal job. I'm on the Alabama train, though. They're going to bounce back. Nate Oates, Mark Sears, road win. Very close. Very close.
Missouri, one of their main strengths is how well they get to the free throw line. Like, that's just kind of how they generate a ton of their offense. I think that's what this game's going to come down to. I think they can also play at the same pace as Alabama is the thing. So, yeah. God, this is a very 50-50 game to me. Gun to my head. Yeah, you know what? Missouri just finds ways to win games, even though I don't think I don't think they should. Not this one. I'm going to take Alabama. I'm going to zigzag.
Mid-sentence, you change your pick.
Yeah.
True.
Mid-sentence, like one more word, it was Missouri, and then it was Alabama.
True. Look, that is exactly what happened.
I will say this. Alabama's third in the third in the conference in three-point defense. Teams are only shooting 30.6% against them. But Missouri at home, pace, free throws, all that you talked about. There's something telling me Missouri is going to win this game in a close one. And I worry if Alabama, I don't think it's a one-off anymore. We've seen it all year where they'll have 5 of 26 or 6 of 31 three-point shooting nights, and that's not going to get done on the road, especially if your All-American Mark Sears doesn't show up, and even more so if you don't get anything out of Grant Nelson in a game like this. I think Mark Mitchell's due for a big, big game. Caleb Grill is a live wire for Missouri. He's either going to drop 25 on your head or he's going to foul out with 2 points. I think if he has a good game, Missouri wins this game. I'll just say it that way. I think this should be a really interesting. Is there any other? Those are the only 3 from this early week that kind of caught my eye. Was there anything else from this early week slate that you guys want to bring up?
My bank on it for mine. So
yeah,
perfect. DeRosa, anything else?
No, nothing for me.
We've got Arkansas needing a win going on the road to Auburn. I mean, I know the likelihood there, but
I need to win the lottery too.
Listen. I said it with Kentucky, and I'll say it here. Arkansas needs a win. Cal's good for weird wins like this. I don't think they'll win, but I wouldn't be shocked at all if Big Z goes for 30 and you look up and Arkansas has a chance to win this game. That's all I'll say about that. So, interesting games this early week. Let's start rounding things out here. Look at this timing-wise. We're actually earlier on schedule here, even with the guests. Let's go to bank on it. And I just mentioned mine. I was trying to save it, but I got a little too excited. Bank on it. Missouri beats Alabama. I believe that, and I'll stick with it, and I'll write it. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Missouri's going to beat Alabama on Wednesday night. Bank on it.
This is the bank on it I was going to use last show that I realized this game would be after we do this one. So we're saving it for this one. We're looking the clock. It's 2:23 p.m. EST right now. This game starts in about an hour and a half. Utah State, New Mexico. The Aggies are going into the pit and winning. New Mexico didn't look great in their last game against, I believe it was Wyoming. And Utah State matched up pretty well. They just couldn't hit shots last game. They're going to hit shots this game. They're going into the pit. Not an easy place to play. And they're winning a damn game.
I love it.
I thought maybe you'd be on that one.
I think you're wrong because I love New Mexico, and they were my pick when we did our picks to win the Mountain West. I think you're wrong, but I like the pick. I like the conviction in your voice.
My bank on it is after Tuesday night, Bill Self is going to tell the Big 12 commissioner he's never going back to the state of Utah. BYU beats Kansas and a losing road trip to the state of Utah, and Bill Self never returns. Bank on it.
Oh, so he's going to pull a Cal with Indiana. I like that.
Never going to go back to the state of Utah.
I wonder, Coach, because they were just out playing Utah last night. We kind of alluded to it. In a situation like that, do they just stay out in that area instead of come back to Kansas?
Yes, and it's been a lot of these have been weird. But yeah, we used to, even though it was a Saturday, Tuesday, that's an extra night, but they'll stay out unless they chartered back right after. They'll probably stay out.
I think that makes sense because I know UCLA when they came out east and they beat Indiana on Friday night. They played Illinois. One was Wednesday or Tuesday. They stayed the extra days out in the Midwest instead of flying back. And
that's a lot further travel, though. But yes,
yeah, that's true.
But I think they probably stay.
Let's go to shout outs. I've got a couple. I'll make them quick. Trey Johnson, 32 points. Like, he made every big play. He is an NBA player. We've known that. But if people on the national stage hadn't watched him before, you know now. Like, that dude is he's a bucket. Step back threes, getting to the rim, athletic, can dunk. Needs to work on his body a little bit, I think. Needs to work defensively to transition to the NBA level, but he's got time. He's a young kid. He is a bucket and a half waiting to happen. 32 in Kentucky, and really, like Coach said earlier, made sure and willed Texas to a win when it looked like maybe they were going to drop another one at home. He's phenomenal. Got to give him a shout out. Shaheen Holloway. Seton Hall has been awful. That was their 6th win of the year. I'm shouting Shaheen out because we all know he is a good coach. Like, to do what you did at St. Peter's with the limited budget is almost impossible. To come back to your alma mater at Seton Hall and literally not get any help from NIL, not get help from funding, and yeah, they're struggling. He needed that win to remind people he's a good coach. And I hate the fact that Seton Hall has not given him any help with the money department. I think if you put Shaheen Holloway at a better job, he would have his teams in the NCAA tournament mix. They would play a fun brand of basketball. It's just so hard when your program does not help you with the funding. A team that's in the Big East, mind you, they won't spend money. They won't help. Shout out Shaheen Holloway, man. He's a really good coach, and he deserves better than what Seton Hall is giving him. USC women's. The other night on Thursday night, they take down number 1 UCLA, 71-60. It was UCLA's first loss of the year, rivalry game. USC's number 6, by the way. Star player of the Trojans, Juju Watkins, 38 points, 12 of 26 from the floor, 8 of 10 from the free throw line. We talk about women's game being bigger in marketing. You see her in commercials. You see her being shouted out by NBA players because she's that damn good. When she comes out, she'll be the unanimous number 1 pick. And her and Caitlin Clark and some of these others will help elevate women's basketball to a new level. She's phenomenal. They take down number 1 UCLA in a rivalry game. Shout out to Juju Watkins and USC women's. And I had another one, and I just forgot it. Maybe it'll come back to me. Somebody else can go.
Well, a couple things of that. Like Trey Johnson and Juju Watkins. Sometimes the best player on a team can just carry you to a win. Yep. And I was there to watch Trey do it, and Juju's amazing. My shout outs. First one, we already talked about it, but to Coach Izzo, just an incredible honor for him. I saw the tribute video that the people did congratulating him that they showed at the practice gym when they landed last night. If you haven't seen that on Twitter, it's just awesome. I'm going to shout out one of my ex-players, Makai Mason for Washington. Beat my man Mike Rhodes on yesterday and had 20 points and a career-high 6 3-pointers. And then texted me after the game and said, yeah, Coach, all those guys said they knew you. I said, yeah, you beat my guys, Makai. You beat them, dude. Yes, I did. So shout out to Makai. Really proud of him for that. And then the last one to Billy Donovan. They got retired his jersey. They hung it the right side up. Credit to Providence. And a shout out to Billy Donovan. I don't know why it took 30 years or whatever it took, but really cool to see his banner be risen in the Friar arena.
Yeah, to the point of Juju Watkins again. I believe she had 5 blocks in this game too. Which I think
she took over, bro. She
just did everything. Watching the highlights back, that was awesome. Really fun to watch. A couple quick shout outs. One, Bradley and Drake are battling right now. It's a tie game. This game, as soon as we get off here, I'm gonna go watch that game. So mid-major hoop that out. Sticking with the low major ball. Shout out my guys at Florida A&M. This was a team I wrote about in the magazine that it was like nobody was talking about them. It's like just hearing the coach talk. It's like he's a sharp dude. The way they built this team. And they had some weird stuff with the coach where it's like he was hired, then the school was like trying to back out of it. And they're like, yeah, we don't think he's qualified to be a basketball coach. It's like this guy's coach at the D2 level and he's coached winners every year just because some of the guys that were on the current roster weren't going to end up playing. And he was like, look, straight up, you're not going to play. The administrator was like, then he doesn't know what he's doing. He's got his team 8-4. They just beat Jackson State. Coach Carreri is a sharp dude. You just hearing him talk, you can tell he's sharp. Shout out to his team. They better, if they're smart, they better be like, okay, yeah, this is our coach for the future. We'll extend him for a little bit till he ends up taking a better job for a team that actually believes in him. And then lastly, I was at this game. Pierre Brooks, career high 30 points. Was awesome. Shout out to Pierre Brooks. Beat Georgetown.
Love it. In my other
Tune in Memphis, Wichita right now if you're watching college basketball.
Wichita State's up 80-79 with 30.6 seconds. Maybe that's what it looks like.
Yep.
It's an overtime. My other shout out, Mick Cronin, getting a win finally on the East Midwest Coast their time. They beat Indiana on Friday night. And Mackenzie Mbako had a literal wide open putback that would have tied the game and completely doinked it. But UCLA holds on for a big win there. Keeps pace in the Big Ten. They're rolling right now. Guys, what a fun show. I mean, I dropped an F-bomb. I got worked up. We have almost we almost had 500 people live watching, which is incredible. We appreciate Coach Miller hopping on. Fun show. Really, really fun show. But until episode 219 on Thursday, a lot more college hoops. Think about this, ladies and gentlemen. 4 weeks. 4 weeks until Selection Sunday, and we get to talk about the official brackets. It's going quick. But until Thursday on episode 219, we hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening, and we will catch you guys down the road. Peace.
See ya.